Good morning. Happy Freakin Monday. I'm Ben Frisch with bfresh.media, and this is your weekly wake-up call to kick your marketing out of bed. So last week, I was talking about a Hershey's campaign that was really blatant and obvious in their messaging. You know, they were talking to targeting stoners, and I wanted to talk about the art of subtlety and suggestion because it can be really effective and way more creative. So imagine that you had a product or service that you couldn't talk about. I mean, the art of suggestion is a tactic in advertising that was probably perfected by companies that exist in the areas of taboo, of risque, where they can't talk about what they do or what they offer. That is where the art of suggestion works like magic. To me, there is very little creativity in just coming out and saying what you want to say. I mean, yes, you do want to be clear in your message, but what if by suggesting that your product offers a certain result, you're allowing the viewer to formulate an image or feeling of what that result is that's unique to them and not to you? Does that make sense? Let me give you an example. When it comes to suggesting a result in advertising, I don't think there are any better examples than in the pharmaceutical industry. Specifically, I'm talking about Viagra. Okay, I don't mean to keep talking about drugs on this channel, but it's just a great example. That's because prescription medication has a massive amount of restrictions when it comes to advertising. In fact, the United States and New Zealand are the only two countries in the world that allow direct-to-consumer advertising for prescription medication. Now, why then have you seen ads on Canadian television? According to Health Canada, companies can advertise, but only in two very restrictive ways. So, according to Health Canada, the first way is that drug companies can use help-seeking messages. So, these are situations that describe a medical condition and urge people to get help if they have the symptoms. Kind of like a PSA. I don't think I've ever seen an ad take that approach. The second is that they can mount a so-called reminder ad that names a drug but not what it is used for. So imagine you were selling a product or service that you couldn't talk about what it did or how it worked. Well, the latter example or exception of a so-called reminder ad that's a brand spot. And that window of opportunity is all that the team at Taxi in Toronto needed to launch a series of beautifully suggestive ads for Pfizer, the maker of Viagra. You may recall the first one they put out was just a guy bounding to work, dancing and prancing while the song Good Morning played in the background from Singin' in the Rain. If you listen to the lyrics, it can be quite suggestive if you put it into this context. And here's some screenshots where we see, he's just coming out of his house. He's prancing and dancing through the streets on his way to work. And it just ends with the word Viagra. And as the elevator doors closed, talk to your doctor. So there's no mention of what it does, what it's for. The good thing, the thing for them is that they definitely had word of mouth on their side. People knew what this drug was, what it was for, so they didn't need to educate people. They followed that up with a similar ad with a man just bounding out of his front door, screaming and shouting and just running through the streets. And then they have other shots of lots of other men doing the same, throwing their arms up in celebration. And they also have, a very suggestive woman looking on in disapproval while she's watering her garden with a hose. Need I say more? All of this is going on while Queens We are the champions playing in the background, again, really filling in the blank of what are they so excited about, helping your mind get to that suggestion. And it ends on Viagra, talk to your doctor once again. Now, speaking of filling in the blanks, not in that way, but in the censorship way, the next set of ads they did was really quite suggestive in that they censored themselves and parts of conversations. So they were really simple in approach, often very short, like 20-second spots that involved a brief conversation, and they censored it with using the blue pill over someone's mouth and a beep. And the combination of the two implied that this person was speaking about something that was just so risque, so taboo, it was not fit for television. And then, of course, the reactions that you saw after that really just sort of helped your mind get to where they wanted you to go. So you may not have advertising restrictions like a pharmaceutical company, but, you know, for healthcare practitioners like dentists and physiotherapists, things like that, there are some pretty strict guidelines here in Canada. And those regulations are often in place to level the playing field, but little do those regulators know that creativity and suggestion will always give you the advantage. And if you don't believe me, next week I'm going to be and talking about. I bet you want to tune in now. Have a great week and a happy freaking Monday.